to you.
Good morning to you and to all the viewers.
Let's start off with getting a bit of context. What was wrong with status quo at the time that led you to see fit to bring about this proposed legislation?
Well, Ayanda, infrastructure is vital to every South African. Every morning when our people wake up, you switch on the light, you step onto the bus, you drink a glass of water, you are reliant on infrastructure. But our bold program, while it has many successes, has been going too slow. We need to speed up. We need to be able to deliver faster, with less costs, and smarter infrastructure that meets the need of our people. And so we've introduced in Parliament a bill that gives us the power as government, all three spheres, to move on building power stations, highways, dams, ICT infrastructure. So that's really what the purpose of the bill is.
You've had public hearings into this bill. You've also had the meeting in Parliament's Economic Development Committee. So a lot of feedback has come forward as to what people think about this draft bill in its current form. What do you make of the feedback, both positive and negative?
Well, I'm very encouraged by the extensive comments we've had. More than 30 organizations have written into Parliament saying we've got views on the matter, we think we need to be heard. And by and large, I think what's come out of Parliament is that there's a broad consensus. Infrastructure is important, and we need to cut red tape, and we need to improve delivery. What we then had, a number of organizations had specific proposals. And that's what we expect in a democracy. It's the opportunity, in fact, for citizens and for organizations to come forward. So on the one hand, we had business saying, we like what is in the bill, but we are concerned. Will it create more layers of red tape? And will it, in fact, confuse the distinction between public infrastructure, where we support government in what it's trying to do, and private infrastructure, which our members undertake? We've had the environmental group saying, yes, we recognize the importance of infrastructure, but our mandate as environmental groups is to ensure that the environment becomes center stage. Are you getting the balance right? Are you not perhaps reducing the amount of time available? So that's the kind of comments we've had. On the other hand, we've had a COSATU coming forward and saying development is vital, jobs is important, we've got to build the economy. And we see that the pace of infrastructure delivery has to be improved. So we welcome the bill. We've had state-owned companies, Eskom, Transnet, the Industrial Development Corporation, either in their written submissions or in speaking to Parliament saying, we like what we see. Yes, here and there we'd like to improve it, we'd like to change this or that clause, but by and large, this kind of vision, this kind of bill will give us the coordination, the alignment that we need across government.
Mr. Minister, for time's sake, I'm just going to ask us to quickly try and unpack the few issues that we have. The fact that this might add more to the process of bureaucracy and in fact make even more of something that should be less in terms of time, delivery, making sure that you approve of the project. Will this mean more red tape in your opinion?
Absolutely not. In fact, one of the interesting things in Parliament is we've had some people saying this may add more red tape, and others saying, well, there's not enough red tape, there's not enough time given here. So we think we've struck the right balance. Big infrastructure projects does require that there be proper consideration. So we've set out in the bill the processes so that there's certainty. But what the bill will do, it will avoid this open-endedness where you can take years before you get a regulatory approval. What it will do, it will avoid the confusion where a local government makes one decision, a province makes a different decision, and a national regulator makes a third decision.
If I may interrupt, there are more allegations that in fact it will do the opposite to what you've just mentioned, that it will confuse the roles and the responsibilities between the three levels of government, and that in fact it was ill-defined in objectives and intentions. Do you plan on revisiting it and perhaps rewording it to make sure that the concerns that have been raised will be adhered to when you bring the final piece of legislation forward?
We're going to give very serious considerations to all the views that have come up. It's important. These are thoughtful and often quite considered views. But one of the innovations in the bill that we think, when I have an opportunity to address Parliament, I will flesh out a little bit more, is that it brings the three spheres of government together. It brings all three spheres into one room. The Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission will be chaired by the President. It will have almost half of Cabinet in it, all the premiers and the mayors of all the metros and the leadership of SALGA. So in one place, in one room, you will have all the public sector decision makers. That can only be good for development. That can only be good for jobs. That can only be good for inclusive economic growth.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. My thanks to you. Never enough time to thrash out the nitty-gritty of it all, but we will continue to keep a close watch on the proceedings and hope to hear from you soon as well as to the process of establishing this. I think everybody agrees there's mass consensus that infrastructure development is absolutely key. My thanks to you again for joining us, Minister there, Ebrahim Patel. And that's where we leave this particular conversation, because it's time to take a look at what the